confused, you're brainwashed. All you gotta do is take your head out of your stupid fucking phone for 2 seconds and look around you and just look. The sun wakes up at the same time every day and moves by one. It's obvious that there's an intelligence. It doesn't take a genius to see that. So you just ask yourself the question, well, how is it that the sun knows exactly how to move and moves all the same? It's predictable. Who made that? Well, your bullshit science is going to say it's coming from a so-called Big Bang, and this is the fruit of coincidence or chance. Like, how could that be the fruit of chance? It's impossible. The probability of such a thing happening is 0. This is one of the basic equations that I've created when I was 17, because I'm a mathematician, statistician. That's my favorite one, probably my only one too. So I've discovered the truth through statistics. In stats, I was doing a statistics class. Of course, I was bored out of my mind because they're fucking dumb. And I was like, all right, so statistics, 1 chance out of 100 is 1%. So I started to figure this out. So I said, okay, so if life is the way it is, that means that's 1, right? But there's infinite possibilities, like quantum physics are very proud to say there's infinite possibilities. So if we are living in this reality, and that means it's the product of it's 1 chance, right? 1 chance out of infinite possibilities. So if you divide 1 by infinity, it makes 0. So the probability of this reality to happen in infinite possibilities is 0%. And I've succeeded in proving that there's no such thing as a coincidence or as this is chance, impossible. I just gave it to you to math. Anything else could have happened. There's infinite possibilities because there's infinite variables. Infinite variables combined together to create this world we live in means you have 1 chance. This is R1 divided by infinite possibilities. 1 divided by infinity. For those of you who didn't fuck around in math like I did, it makes 0. So 0% chance that this happens, which proves to say that. Anyways, all this to say, so they're bullshit Big Bang to try to remove the obvious that there's a design. And when they speak about so-called intelligent design, they make sure to quickly bring it towards the Christian theology and the Bible, and the God created the world in 6 days and took a chill-off day on Sunday. Or is it Sabbath, which is Saturday? So Sunday is the first day, right? Who fucking knows? But the point is, so they immediately make it that so that the people who are sick and tired of this religious doctrine say this is ridiculous, and then they buy into scientific theorems, the theory of the Big Bang, which if you also consider, I don't care if it's that or not that, it's irrelevant for me, and I have my own explanation of this, which I'll take you through it at another point in time. I find it very interesting. But the point is, one thing that they do say is that there's an explosion of something that's an original material, to which they do not know what it is, nor where does it come from, nor how. So that would be God. That means it's something else. Anyways, so the point of saying, all you got to do is take a minute and look around, and what do you see? Well, something's happening. And all you got to do is take some time and talk to people, and you see each person that you speak to is a universe on themselves. This is fascinating. And each person is at the very center of their universe, like they are the very sun of their universe, with their minds. And all their waves and highs and ebbs and flows of emotions, different kinds of emotions, Martian emotions, let's fight, Venusian, let's have pleasure, Jupiterian expansion, Saturnian contraction. And we can go through all of this and have fun. Yet they're at the very center, and they're just in a storm, and their lives are just unfolding in front of their eyes. And if you took 2 seconds to understand and study them, you'd see that there are certain vectors of forces that are creating inevitabilities, because we live in a world of action and reaction, which is pretty obvious. And if you zoom out a little more and you look at this and you say, well, this is a person's life 50, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, and that before there was their parents, they knew the same, and then you zoom, you're like, well, there's clearly a story. I may not know the story, I may not understand the story, but clearly nature is writing a story. It's expressing something. And if you zoom, again, zooming out, you're like, well, clearly it's expressing something. It looks like one of Mozart's magnus opus, noisy, what do they call those? Anyway, right? It's like it's a whole thing, right? From start to end. So clearly nature is creating a symphony of something that has a story. We are just, but it's so big and the time spectrum is so large, and most people have lost sense of time because they live in a false sense of time, which is their watch. So they don't perceive time anymore. So they cannot, the concept that we're in a story that has a journey in time and we're in a small segment of the story. You don't even need to know where it is, but you don't have a sense of time anymore. Time has disappeared. So now all of this feels far off. And when people talk about this, it's like, wow, it's cool or mystical or it's crazy. It's not. So it doesn't take a genius to figure this out. It's right there. It's so right there, it's ridiculous. Every day the sun wakes up. Every fucking day forever. Well, not exactly, according to science. Approximately 1.27892 billion years from now, there is 92% probability that the sun as we know it may no longer be there. Brace yourselves, because your forechild may not have a sun. But at that time, science will have created an artificial sun that will replace our sun, and that will be a green sun. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So it shows that there's a disconnect. Because it's like, well, if it's so obvious, then why don't we perceive it? And then you have the New Agers who sit down, yes, the sun. I'm connecting to the sun. They have to use their conscious mind and intentionally, willfully is the word, try to connect because their connection is not there. Well, you got to give it to them, at least they're trying. But it clearly shows that there's something broken. So it's obvious, it's right there, but it seems like we don't have access to it. Or we've lost access to it, or if we have access to it, we have access to that motion just at a very surface level. You see what I mean? So, but it's there, but nobody seems to care. People are concerned with surviving. And that has taken precedent over everything. The survival. Survival is everything. And our survival depends on not nature. At least the animal doesn't know what's going on, but he's plugged into nature. His survival depends on nature. Unless he happens to come towards the city, then he's going to have a problem. But, right, at least they're tuning to the rhythm of nature to survive. The human being's survival is not in tune with nature. It's with society's clock. And fortunately for us, the builders of society, these are the architects of our world, are intelligent enough to synchronize their creation, which is our world, society, with certain rhythms of nature, which your average person does not understand, because, well, nature is changing its time, so that affects human beings, their physiology, their hormonal system, their nervous system, and therefore they will change. So new insights may come. This won't work. We need to adapt, and then they follow the flow. The point is, it's right there for those who want to see, but to see it is not enough. What it's highlighting is that there's a disconnect because it's like we're not living it. It's not living. The word in dharma means the way of nature, the eternal natural way, the way of life, as I like to call it. And dharma, you can observe it, you can read it in books, you can try to mentally, intellectually apply it, but why is it not awakened inside? This is what I always say. So for me, this is the sign of our time that there's a disconnect. And my purpose in life is to establish myself in this way of life, not through my mind and intellect, but because it's that currency is circulating through everything anyways. So why am I not conscious and why am I not surfing that wave rather than another wave, if that's the wave. And that for me is the basic of the human experience. This is what the human experience is for, if you want to cross this ocean of life without perishing. And it is the purpose of my life. It is what the essence of so-called spirituality is. There's nothing else. What else is there? And it is all-inclusive, meaning, well, all the different storylines that are happening all at the same time all fit within that supreme narrative, because that is the supreme narrative that contains all of them.